Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today we're going to be talking about the Battle of Ontario, which will be taking place in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs between the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs. A series that could have some pretty big fallout from what happens at the end of it, and I think it might just happen. But first off, you should subscribe, because if you subscribe, you'll see more of me, more of this kind of content, more of information that you should know so you're smarter than everyone else, and that'll in return make me happy. So it's a win-win. So you should hit subscribe, like this video, and comment that you did, and then I'll like you after. Anyways, let's talk about the actual reason you're here. So, the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Ottawa Senators. Of course, the season series has gone 3-0. Blanking the Maple Leafs is the Ottawa Senators, which is kind of shocking when I saw that. But the Senators coming in the first wild card spot, and therefore the second best Eastern team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, are going to be able to play against them, getting home ice advantage as they finish first in the Atlantic. Now, usually I put like a little interesting stat among the league for each team, but the Senators don't really have anything. They're pretty middling, every goals for, goals against, power play, penalty kill, shots against, shots for. They're all kind of pretty middling, nothing too important to put down. But for the Maple Leafs, though, 7th in goals for, 10th in goals against. They're also 7th on the power play as well. So the Maple Leafs have definitely been stepping up their game over the these seasons that keep going on and on. They just improving those numbers overall, having a better team defense, their goals for, I think they've been higher in the past, but they're, still pretty high up there in 7th. So the Maple Leafs with Craig Berube at the helm instead of Sheldon Keefe for the first time going to the playoffs, how are things going to pan out for them? And I don't really know, because first of all, this series should be the Maple Leafs on all account. They are the team that has all the playoff experience. They don't have a ton of playoff experience because they keep getting eliminated very early on, but they do have a lot of that playoff experience going over and over and over again to the playoffs. This should be a year that should be, once again, their year to strike, but I just feel like they haven't done anything to make them any more better, because with Craig Berube, sure, people tout him as being a strategic, strategy, systems kind of coach, and sure, he might be, but I think everyone says that about coaches, and I don't know. I feel like he has not made the Maple Leafs any more impressively better. I think additions adding an Ekman Larson and Chris Tanev and Brandon Carlo to the lineup have made them better. Matthew Nye is developing even better. I feel like that is more what has made them a better team overall than the coaching. So I feel like coaching things has been whatever, because really their D-core lacks a great number one defenseman. Morgan Rielly's not been anywhere near what he'd be rated in EA. I think he's an 88, 89 or something in NHL. He's this season he's been more of, I would say, an 85 defenseman. You get him, Tanev, once again, you just kind of have some, they're good, but nowhere as excelling number one defenseman to eat tons of minutes on the ice. Now, they do have 3 pairings of defense that they can throw out there, and they're fine enough as long as the offense come through. But of course, can the offense come through? That has been the hugest problem with the Maple Leafs, is that no matter if they're a true contender team, the Maple Leafs, Matthews, Marner, Nylander you might want to leave out off the list, but Tavares, the guys that get paid half of the salary, they just don't do anything. They don't bring any, especially Matthews and Marner. Marner just becomes a compilation of bad plays. And then Matthews doesn't even become a compilation of bad plays. He just becomes invisible. He does nothing. And even though people want to tout his defensive skill and whatever, he's so great anyways. No, he is paid to score goals and make them win games. Matthews has done none of that, even in this one series that they've won. Marner is a goofball. Tavares, he's always pretty solid, but once again, not leading the charge of making games win. And Nylander's the one that's pretty consistent, except last year, I would say. But other than them, you get to Nyes, who should be a great playoff player, and I think he will be. But besides him, Domi has been laughable this season. I don't care what anyone says. I think he has been atrocious. And any you can agree, you can disagree with me all you want. But between Domi And you get to freaking like Bobby McMahon. You get down to like the bottom two lines. The Leafs options become pretty laughable. And so with a combination of a horrid depth up front, your top six is what really is going to win you the day in the playoffs, and the top six is never there to win. So what is left us with is a big question mark of a team that has a questionable goaltender in net in Anthony Stolarz, who, even though his numbers are amazing, I don't really think he is his numbers goaltender. The numbers paint a different picture than how he actually plays in my mind. He's pretty average, I would say. He will not make them lose this series, or if Joseph Wall comes in either. I think neither of them are going to cost them or win this series. I think they will be a fine average goaltender at best. But between the defense being not super studded and the offense being always questionable for the Maple Leafs, it leaves me wondering what is actually going to happen with the Leafs. And on the other side of this series, you have the Ottawa fucking Senators, who have Brady Tkachuk. Brady Tkachuk, a beast. In the Four Nations, he was a beast, okay? This guy has been waiting 7 years to play in the playoffs. Himself alone bringing the energy that the captain is going to bring. The Senators, between Stützle and Cousins and Perron finally getting back in the playoffs, and Giroux, and you keep going down the list of those, and Pinto and Batherson. You get all these players, you just keep going down the list of, these guys' first time in some people's returning chances to finally win a playoff matchup. I don't think the Senators have any grandeur, whatever the word is, of winning the Stanley Cup as a whole. I'm sure they want to. But I know they know, this is their first year to break into the playoffs, and next year's the time. But let's start off on a great foot. Let's knock out the Maple Leafs. Upset the Leafs like they always get knocked out. And to me, between them, Ullmark being a solid goaltender, not a goaltender that's going to save the day, but between Stolarz and Ullmark, I choose Ullmark. Between the Senators' defense, which is not the greatest on its own, but between a team-wide defense, between the offense and defense combined versus the Maple Leafs offense and defense combined, I choose the Senators. The only thing that separates it is where offense comes into play. They might not have the superstars like the Maple Leafs do, but the Maple Leaf superstars never come to play like superstars anyways. So to me, it is where does that leave us, right? And it's so hard to say because, you can say, this is the Maple Leaf series, and I would not be surprised if they win this 1-5. I would not be surprised if they somehow won. Well, I don't think they could sweep the Senators. I think the Senators, no matter what, get at least a win. But it's so hard because it literally can go either way for me. But in my true, heart gut feeling, and I know it's you're just hating the Leafs or whatever, but in all honesty, I feel like this just goes down in history as what always happens, and I'm going to say that this series is the Senators in 6. I think the Senators win this one. I think the Maple Leafs question marks still hold up. I think Matthew Nyes will be huge, and I think Marner will play a little bit better because this is his big contract year. But those two are kind of competing with each other for who stays and who goes, and I don't know who will come out the winner of that series, and that will bring a little bit more emotion, but I just personally, for me, between the Four Nations face-off, which I know Matthews was injured, but still, between the past, Tavares and Nylander, I don't know. To me, I feel like the Toronto Maple Leafs have done the same thing over and over and over again with tiny patches to the wounds. But to me, this year just feels like another setback year. I feel like this is another setback year where a team like the Senators could come in, win game 1 in a crazy, in a hard-fought battle and surprise the Leafs. Leafs win game 2, and then they go home to Ottawa, where Senators will come out so hard, so fast, with so many cheers, so many fans. They win game 3, and it's 2-1. And game 4 is a real toss-up that I feel like could go the Senators' way. 3-1, Leafs win game 5, and then game 6 back in Ottawa with a chance to close the door. I feel like that's how it goes. It feels like it's Senators, Leafs, Senators, OT win for the Senators, Leafs, Senators close the series. That's how I see it going, and I think Brady Tkachuk will be leading the entire way. I think the offensive depth combined with the Leafs just non-depth, non-great defense just cannot make the day. But at the same exact time as I'm saying all of that, I could literally see it going the complete opposite direction. I think this is a close series, and to me, this feels like the year where Matthews could finally turn it up. But we say that every single year. Every single year, it is the year where the Leafs could finally do it. I grew up a Sharks fan, and we kept saying the same thing, and they couldn't get it done either. So, to me, that's where I'm left off, and I think it is the Senators series, and the Leafs are going to make some big changes, and we'll see what happens from there. But other than that, that is all I gotta say. So thank you for watching this. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Until next time, too sweet. Have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now. Maybe the Maple Leafs will win.